turning on the machine, it is this button over here, and you're just going to flick it into the on position like so. It will illuminate, and then on the motherboard you will also find some flashing lights. Once those are all steady, you are all set to log into Duet Web Control.
So when you first log into the Duet Web Control, we are introduced to the main dashboard. There's helpful information about the machine here. Users can see exact coordinate locations of the tool head, and if there's an extruder present, users can also see the position of that tool, as well as speed and sensor information. Next, we're going to talk about the left-hand sidebar. This features a bunch of different drop-downs. The first one is the control drop-down, and right now we are in the dashboard, which is the page that we're looking at right now. If you go into the console option, this is where all the output is presented. So the green bar that you're seeing currently shows that we are connected to the 3dfp.local network. If you type any G-code here, for example, if we just type a string called hello world and send it, we're going to get an error. So anything that errors or produces a warning or is successful, all the outputs of those commands can be seen on this page. Next, we're going to talk about the height map pane. This is a widget that just displays any offsets, and it's really only used when any printers use a probe, which the printer that we have currently doesn't use any probe, so we're not going to see anything here, but this is where you would find information on probes. Okay, so now we can close the control dropdown, and if we go to the job dropdown, the first option here is the status page. This will have any information of any print jobs that are currently running on the printer, and again, we see nothing here because there's no print job that's running right now.
Following status, we get into the G-code viewer. This allows us to interface with G-code. For example, if we load a basic 1 by 1 by 1 centimeter cube, we'll be able to see the toolpath of the machine. This serves as a way to essentially dry print, but virtually, so you don't need to use any of the mechanical components of the machine itself, but you can get a good idea of the toolpathing the machine will follow, and will help you detect any errors during the printing process.
Now we can close the job dropdown and head to the files dropdown. This features a filaments module. We can see that this allows users to create any filament profiles that will store key information and mechanical properties of any material. So right now we have filament profiles for jelly and peanut butter because those are the materials that we were printing with, but you can upload any filament configuration files or create a new filament here as well. Next, we can head into the bottom section called Jobs. This section holds any G-code print files. This is where any of the prints that have previously ran are stored, and you can also upload any new G-code files using the blue button in the right-hand corner. Another feature that we want to point out is called macros. So if we click into that, this window shows any user-made executable G-code files. And macros for us have been helpful for providing just utility to the machine. So we've created a bunch of macros which home the printer head, home our extruder. So this just batch runs a bunch of G-code lines. Finally, we have the System tab. This holds any system files that are stored, and one of the most important files in here is the config.g file. This is the configuration file for the printer. So for example, you can see this is where we set our printer name, our password, so any configuration related printer stuff, any code goes in this file. So we can close the Files dropdown and head to the last dropdown called Settings. There are general settings that allow users to see the Duet Web Control version number and other UI-based settings. For example, you can toggle off and on the dark theme depending on what you prefer. So any of the general settings will be in this tab. If we head to the machine-specific option, that displays customizable printer options such as heating the bed of a printer or changing any printer machine settings. Again, we don't have any heating elements, so we don't see anything here, but this would be the place to configure that information. Finally, we have the plugin page, and this shows different tools that work with the Duet Web Control. The first tab, the integrated plugins, come with the Duet Web Control, but if you find an open source plugin, you can download that and install it here. So the most important page on the Duet Web Control is the dashboard. From here, you can control the printer using the machine movement widget. This allows users to control the X, Y, and Z axes of the printer. So before we move anything, we wanted to point out to change any of these incremental values that you see here. You just need to right-click and then enter your desired value into the pop-up window and then press OK. And then you are able to change your preferences of the different increments that are seen here.
As we can see, currently the effector plate has no nozzle in it and is also touching the build plate. So if I would like to move that up, I can hit the plus 5mm and the Z under the machine movement widget, and I can raise all axes up in 5mm increments. I can then move the X in the positive direction and the negative direction. Similarly with the Y. So this machine widget allows us full control over the movement of the effector plate.
Next widget that's important to know is the macro pane. This pane provides easy access to any of the user-made macros, and it's super helpful for batch running any commands that you've created. The extrusion control widget, which allows the user to control the extruder. Here the users can retract or extrude material, again in increments, and users are also able to change these increments the same way that we showed before by right-clicking and hitting the OK button. Finally, there are two important buttons to note that are both in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. The Upload and Start button allows users to upload a print job, which will start right away. We also have an emergency stop button, which should be used when the user needs to stop printing at any moment. Please note that when you hit the emergency stop button, the printer temporarily disconnects and will automatically reconnect.
So after emergency stopping, you can see that over in the tool position coordinates, it has gone back to home rather than the coordinates it was previously.